Bert Van Walbeek, good morning, welcome, and I'm happy to have you as our guest this week for Écho du Mercredi. You're a specialist in the crisis. My first question is an easy question for you. What is a crisis?
The definition of a crisis is when an organization or a destination cannot function in a normal way, and they therefore start losing business and therefore have to take very specific measurements and steps to encounter certain situations that are quite often beyond their normal operation.
What is your definition of a crisis?
My definition of a crisis is when an organization doesn't know what to do anymore. When they need help because this goes beyond their normal operational and communication capacities.
So, are there many types of crises?
Well, there are two different types. You have the natural crisis, nature, the typhoons you have here, the earthquakes like we have in Nepal at the moment, and of course there's the man-made crisis. Unfortunately, there are more man-made crises than there are natural crises. And it goes from terrorism to employees doing the wrong thing, pulling the wrong plug, and creating an explosion or whatever happens. So these are all man-made crises.
So how do you or someone in your capacity tackle this type of, let's say, we go for the first one, the natural crisis.
Okay, there are two phases. There's the proactive phase and there's the reactive phase. In general, organizations do a good job reacting to the crisis. But what is in general lacking is the proactivity, the being prepared, the expect the unexpected. So one of my major jobs is not to come in when the crisis is happening, but to come in before the crisis happens and put a risk plan together and put a crisis management plan together which contains both operation and communication.
When we are in the natural crisis, you can say cyclone, from Ocean cyclone is coming, we know where it is. Whenever there's an earthquake, we don't know when the earthquake is coming.
So that's the big challenge. In Phuket, we didn't know the tsunami was coming.
Tsunami, yes.
So although there is a tsunami warning system, but unfortunately that didn't function very well in that situation. So certain things you can expect and be better prepared. That's why most countries do not have a big problem with the typhoon or, but yes, the earthquake. But you can still do a lot of things to make sure that when the earthquake happens, that you are better prepared.
But for the man-made, we are political, financial, you talk about terrorism. How do you prepare? Do you do the proactive part of it?
Again, it's a matter of putting plans together for situations that can be expected. That can be, as you said, a political situation. How do we prepare ourselves from a communication point of view that when it happens, we can explain our customers or the world, depending on your job, what is happening, and that's happening. A good example was the coup d'etat we had in Thailand, which we which we then called the coup d'etat because it was a very friendly coup. There was not one shot fired. So we had to explain to the people, listen, this is not one of those boom 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 things that you see on television. This is a friendly takeover, and you know the people were giving roses to the soldiers, etc., etc. So again, the network before that you build up and the preparation before can reduce the actual facts, and you have a system to quicker react and to encounter this global media that likes to generalize everything there is an earthquake in Nepal, yes, there are certain areas in Nepal that's hurt, but the rest of Nepal is still functioning normal, and tourism theoretically should come back there, but won't, because people, Ebola in Africa, even the South Africans have problems because they're 4,000 kilometers away from Ebola, but people think, you know, there's Ebola in South Africa also, and that's where you have to be prepared, that you have networks to react very fast and correct the perceptions.
Whenever this happens in a company, maybe on the financial or corruption, fraud, money was being taken, how do you go? You know that basically you have found it, the company has found the person, now this is going to be leaked in the press. Now, how in the proactive part are you going to damage, control the damages?
Okay, there is a system which we call accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. The worst you can do is start fighting the negative perceptions that go around. What you should do is encounter those negative perceptions with positive stories of the situation, the steps that are being taken, the way people are reacting, the communication that's being done, the government taking steps, and all that is part of that plan that you can put together. So it should be a crisis communication plan as well as a crisis operation plan, in which you know exactly who to contact, and you have a plan. Is this going to happen? We're going to take 1, 2, 3 steps. Write a statement which you can write in advance and only fill in the blanks. Have all the context there. You cannot, these days you can set up computer systems to contact the journalists you want, to contact the stakeholders you want. It can be all prepared before so that we don't get a scramble. Of course, the most important thing, these are systems that should work 24/7, because most crises happen at 3 o'clock in the morning.
What?
And the office is not open, or we cannot reach the people. So that's all can be prepared before, and systems can be set up, so that when it happens at 3 o'clock in the morning, we still can reach whoever we have to reach, because there's a system to do so.
What is from a point of view the reactive part? So there is a la une, I would say, in the newspaper. The company you're working for is on the papers, all the attention of the media is on you. What is the reactive part then?
The reactive part is to let the people know what is being done to remedy the situation. How are we, what steps are being taken, already have been taken, how are we going to take care of the people involved, and how are we going to do the action steps. It's a system called pity, praise and promise. First of all, the human side. You pity the victims, the families, whatever situation. Then you praise the people that are trying to correct the situation. And then last but not least, you promise that this will be done, that will be done, that will be done. Of course, then you have to follow up on those promises and have another press conference or another meeting and say, okay, we promised this, we said this, by now we have done this, and then we're going to do that. And counter again, take the negativity out of the general trend of reporting and say, yeah, it did happen, things do happen, but we are handling it in a most professional way.
But when you say that, but sometimes there are some people, there are human beings without touch. Sometimes the case is written back, there is no prosecution. What is the next step now? Your company was on the news, you have been everywhere on any business, and you're back, you're clean, but there's a little spot of mud, what has been done or what has not been done.
Okay, what I teach, crisis communication, the crisis is not over until it's over. That means there are certain crisis situations where the company is still identified with the crisis. Where there are other situations where the company handled the crisis so well that it's basically forgotten because they did a good job. And normally it is because they did a good job, people forget pretty fast. If they do a bad job, because they weren't prepared, the situation becomes even more a problem.
I don't know, maybe sister company, the collateral, the person about a victimized for being with that person was being caught for frauding or whatsoever in the company.
Well, you have, of course, the victims, and that can be a victim from a legal point of view, and that can be a victim from a life point of view. Their families, of course, are affected also, and if it's a company that thought through all this, they will have certain systems in place. We trained with a company here in Mauritius, and they realized, and their HR director realized, that they have to put something in place. If that's happened, which they didn't. And again, that should be a policy that's approved already, so that when they have to react, they don't have to go all the way up the ladder and ask for approval and then get an okay 3 days later, and for 3 days they don't know what to do. So that has to be done accordingly. So family attention is very important. We're still humans to humans. And then, of course, the reaction on the actual case and how it's being handled.
But the burden can be on the social media, Facebook, Twitter. We know how to speed. There's no newspaper, but the information can be laid via Facebook, and then it's 3 o'clock in the morning. What do you do?
First of all, the days that you clip newspapers are over. So we know you need a social media policy that needs, well, as soon as a crisis comes, you need people to monitor. Now there are also computer programs that can help you monitor social media. So you need a reaction within, they talk about the 20-second reaction, but you know, that's a little bit exaggerated. But you need to be able to react within half an hour. That means you need dedicated people which you train to, when there is a crisis, you do nothing else as monitoring the social. You go to the crisis management team, and the crisis management team will tell you how to answer or not to answer, it's quite often, and how to, but they should know what's being said there. So you need a policy, a very clear policy, on monitoring social media and then handling social media. There are certain companies that say, don't react. There are other companies that say, do react. But that you have to discuss before the crisis happens, not during the crisis.
I was going to that point, silence. Sometimes in crisis you just do it. Is it a question of internal policy? Is it okay, let the dogs bark, and then when they are tired, there won't be any barking? Or we go, we say, yes, it's true, but we are doing so as you have explained.
There is also the legal side that you have to take in consideration, because whatever you say on social media can come back to you in court later on. So the lawyers have to get a certain role there too. Silence, total silence is, in my eyes, wrong. But your reaction has to be factual and not emotional. And never fight the rumors, just correct the rumors. And, you know, be general, don't start fighting a blocker on the blocker, because they will love that, because they can block more and things like that.
So in Mauritius, we see whenever there is a crisis, there's a certain amount of PR agencies here doing that. Is this the right way? Or it's better for each company to have a sort of communication salon to deal with that type of crisis communication?
Well, that's again part of the managerial approach from companies. Some company have marketing communication, somebody have an outsource. There is no right and wrong there. But if you do your PR, your marketing communication with an outsourced person, then you have to make sure that that outsourced organization can also become part of your crisis management communication. And again, that is a proactive decision maker, and sit with them. If this happens, we want you to do tak, 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 and discuss that before. You cannot phone the PR company at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, we have a crisis, what are you going to do? Won't work.
Might happen.
The crisis will happen, yeah. But if you phone the PR company at 3 o'clock in the morning, you have to do something. By the time they start reacting, it's probably too late.
Did that happen to you? 3 or 4 in the morning, you had a call, you have to deal with the crisis?
Well, yeah, that happens to me on a regular basis, and of course, when then we first deal with the crisis, but then I go back, listen, you should have done this, you should have done that, so learn from this crisis and do it better for the next crisis.
What do you prefer? Passing through a PR agency or just a press communique? This happened, that happened, we are doing this. Any further information will be there. We will talk to you in due course. Yes, the first reaction is a very factual reaction. This has happened and this is what we're doing. Boom. The next communique or the press conference will be at that time, at that place. That can be tomorrow, can be today, depends on the situation. No more in the statement. The second statement should be according to the PPP, pity, praise and promise. We pity the people, we praise the thing, and we promise this. And that is then also the approach during a press communication and during a press conference, that you follow the same. Always put the people first. And things have gone, years have passed by. The court has decided what is decided. What's next when this happens? Maybe the court is negative. Someone has been convinced and put in jail. The company the light comes back on the company for the time of the trial and the judgment. What is in communication crisis the part to do there?
Well, the first part is be honest. Do not try to spin the situation. These days that's over, everybody has a camera in their pocket and everybody can record whatever they want to record, so all that is already there. So then you have to decide whether the people that failed to do their job, how to handle them. And that can be from just telling them to do a better job next time to firing people in it. But firing people doesn't mean that the company is not responsible anymore. So from that point of view, from a legal point of view, that's not really very effective. It is again the honesty and accentuate the positive to eliminate the negative. So come out with some positive stories. Come out with some what's happening in the company, what you have learned, and how you are doing it now, and that kind of stories coming out.
And so, whenever this happens, we've seen in Mauritius, but in some cases, the company just rebrand a new logo, a new name, a new color, just to let us forget. This part is strict. This is the new.
Yeah.
You agree with that? This is the aftermath?
No, that's not. I think that's running away from responsibility. I think when that happens, whoever is the new CEO is still responsible for what happened under the previous CEO or MD or anything else. Now, just to say that was before my time is a very bad excuse and shows me that they haven't really planned how to do things better.
You have met some CEOs, entrepreneurs in Mauritius.
Yes.
Do they understand the importance of crisis management? You have I'm sorry for the noise. a proactive, to be proactive. They might say to you, but you know, it was everything is closed, is locked, but it doesn't. Okay.
I have a good example. One company that had a very pre-active CEO did a lot of things. They changed the CEO, and suddenly nothing is happening in that company anymore. So that can create later on, again, legal problems because they haven't done the job. Can be insurance problems because they haven't done, and can be, of course, also internal problems because the actions were taken. I would say about 30% of CEOs are very proactive. 40%, yeah, we know we have to do something, but you know, as long as it doesn't cost too much money. And I think there's still a lot of people that have this crisis avoidance mentality. It won't happen to me. And that's where the biggest danger is when the crisis happens, that they're not prepared. Crises do happen, but being prepared is a duty of any manager these days. And it can even be a career step. If you do a good job during a crisis, you might well make career within the company.
Last question, but from your point of view in history, which was the best crisis that you have ever followed, and the one that you were actor in?
I think we had a crisis in Thailand in 1992, where we had a change of government and a very proactive prime minister coming in place from the private industry. And after that crisis, we prepared a plan over the weekend. It was presented to him on Monday morning. He asked how much. We told him $750,000, and he said, I'll give you $1 million and you'll have it tomorrow. And then we put a huge PR campaign together. That was still the pre-internet days, so it was much more complicated than it is these days. And that campaign was a big success and brought business back to Thailand basically within 3 months. Similar situation in Egypt after the Gulf War, where a team of us tourism people went to the to the Minister of Tourism, and we said we need a plane to go through Europe and tell the Europeans when this crisis is over that we're back to normal. You see, the tourism minister picked up the phone, phoned the chairman of Egypt Air and said, I need the 737 ready on March 1 to go to Europe. Thank you. He didn't even ask how much. He realized that the reaction is as important, and of course that was all day in communication. You know, Egypt is back to normal. Thailand, we did a program, we invite you to be our guest on the Queen's birthday, and these kind of positive messages then overtake the negative messages that came.
Bert, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You are having a good time in Mauritius.
Thank you.
We'll meet on another crisis.
Okay.
Thank you.